Now, there may be some confusion about the recommendation, don't use supplements to protect against cancer. Certainly, in some dietary or health circumstances, supplements may be valuable. But the expert report panel wanted to express a clear message that there is not currently research to support the idea of taking a nutritional supplement for the express purpose of reducing cancer risk. Cancer survivors are consistently identified as a group more likely to use supplements than the general population. And some of you may work with patients during treatment identifying supplements that might help deal with side effects of therapy or compensate for changes in eating habits at this time. Questions come up about use of multivitamins. You see here results from one prospective observational study of colon cancer patients where multivites had no detectable impact on recurrence or survival, whether before diagnosis, during chemo, 6 months after chemo, or when consumed both during and after chemo. One of the concerns about multis, though, is that most of them do supply folic acid, and that actually is also commonly used as an independent supplement by cancer survivors. Getting enough folate seems important to maintain healthy DNA and prevent cancer, but now research suggests that once precancerous or cancer cells have formed, excessive folic acid may promote their growth. We've seen this in increased formation of advanced colon adenomas, but it may impact other cancers as well. Here we see that in Sweden, where they don't have folate fortification of grains, the top consumers, who are getting just a little over the USRDA, showed 44% lower incidence of breast cancer than women whose intake was clearly low. But in the U.S. study, the prostate, lung, colorectal, ovarian cancer screening trial, where top consumers were all getting more than double the RDA, and most actually exceeded the recommended safety limit, they showed 27% greater breast cancer incidence than women getting the least. And of course, the group that was getting the least is really just a little bit under the RDA. You may have some people ask you, but aren't supplements a sort of insurance to make up for unhealthy habits? We need to be clear that the prevention-related protection from the plant-based diet we're talking about comes from fiber, vitamins, minerals, and thousands of phytochemicals, and from its impact on weight control. And some research suggests that these compounds work synergistically with one another. So a supplement that's supplying vitamins and a handful of phytochemicals is not a substitute for healthy eating. We need to show people, and this is an important part of our message, is that there are attainable changes in food choices that will do more for them. Other people feel they do eat healthfully, but say, well, if some is good, then wouldn't more be even better? But research says not necessarily. Now, an area we clearly want to keep close watch on are the recommendations for vitamin D. Evidence does suggest that it may have cancer protective properties. Researchers are looking at why protection is not seen in all studies before any new recommendations are made. One problem is that quite a few of the studies linking low vitamin D levels with increased breast or other cancers are case control studies. And those studies don't tell us which came first, the cancer or the low blood level of vitamin D. The review article by Cheryl Toner from the October issue of the JADA that you see listed here may be a great resource as you discuss this with your colleagues. The first question we need to answer is if vitamin D is protective, what blood level is our target? The Institute of Medicine emphasized that the new RDA that was just released for vitamin D is based solely on a target of 20 nanograms per milliliter of hydroxy D for bone health. Some research suggests that could reduce cancer risk, but others say that 30 or 40 nanograms per milliliter may be better. Researchers increasingly emphasize that there is a U-shaped curve here, where too much may increase risk of some cancers. Then once we can finally agree on a target level, we need to figure out how much vitamin D people need to reach it. And it's clear that people require very different amounts to reach any target. Some people may need more than the new RDA of 600 to 800 to even reach this 20 nanogram target. If it turns out that the cancer prevention blood level target is higher, then more will almost surely be needed. What can we say to cancer survivors about supplements as they look at long-term goals of decreasing future cancer risk? When it comes to D deficiency, less than 10 nanograms, and some people would say less than 20 nanograms per milliliter, is associated with poorer survival. but we do need to be cognizant of that U-shaped curve. And while we need more research, a speaker at the latest AICR research conference expressed concern that rapid repletion with high doses may not be the ideal way to fix low vitamin D levels. It's clearly prudent to avoid excess folic acid. The question is whether the normal upper limit that was established by the Institute of Medicine of 1,000 micrograms from fortified foods and supplements is safe. Some say that no more than 400 micrograms of added folic acid is a better target for everyone over 50 and for cancer survivors. Multivites are not necessarily helpful and might increase progression of prostate cancer. And when it comes to antioxidants, it looks like the best place to look is foods. Giovannici's review of this on here is a really excellent source if you are looking for more information on that. So deciding on our key messages, as we have to remember, is only the beginning of effectively communicating them. People may need different messages when they're still thinking about change or maybe denying the need for change compared to when they have already begun making changes. In pre-action stages, it's two kinds of messages that are important. First, that diet and lifestyle matter to their personal cancer risk. People almost all fear cancer, but many don't understand that they can make choices for change that could really benefit them. And the second vital message is that barriers they see can be resolved and steps that they can achieve. We should consider each of our messages and programs in light of how it impacts people's self-efficacy. We know that self-efficacy is a key component of people's willingness to make a change and their response, giving up or continuing to try when they run into barriers. You can increase people's self-efficacy with these 5 strategies. Help people set realistic goals rather than goals so challenging they're doomed to fail, which then further cements belief that healthy lifestyles are just too hard. Identify specific small steps. Move people away from global resolutions like eat healthy or lose weight to really specific changes they can target, like put fruit on cereal, add vegetables to soups and mixed dishes, or take 10 minutes at lunch for a brief walk. Encourage self-monitoring. We know this helps people keep on track, and it also provides a visible way for people to see for themselves that they can indeed make progress. Look for everywhere you can to give positive feedback, and share stories. When people question whether they can really make a certain change, the stories you tell of people that those you're talking to will think are just like them, people like that who have made a change, in turn really helps others to believe that they too can do it. A vital element of people's willingness to go forward with their behavior changes involves resolving their perception of barriers. Molly Kellogg, an RD with terrific expertise in counseling techniques, recommends asking clients to rate from 1 to 10 how confident they feel about making a specific change discussed. And that opens lots of doors for conversation. We need to ask for each client or group with whom we work, what are the barriers they see? If they're among the many who feel overwhelmed by the confusing array of statements about diet and cancer, we can simplify the message by using the concept AICR developed called the New American Plate. 2/3 or more of your plate at each meal should be vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and beans. 1/3 or less should be animal protein. And if that seems overwhelming, talk with them about how this can be accomplished with gradual transitions. If change seems overwhelming, we can emphasize small, simple changes, show people how to start with what they're already eating and simply add vegetables to pasta, casseroles, or soup they already serve. And where there are vegetables in a stir fry or stew, show them that they can add more. When sandwiches are for dinner, okay, serve them with raw vegetables and fruit instead of chips and cookies. Talk about substituting whole grains for refined grains and lean poultry, seafood, or beans in place of red and processed meat. For people who think that healthy food means giving up good flavor, we need to emphasize that healthy eating can taste great. We need to show people how to make vegetables taste so good that they become the flavor highlight of the meal. Are tight schedules or tight finances perceived as the barrier? In many cases, people don't know how to put together a meal that's both quick and healthy, and we can show them. We can show people ways to control costs by using less meat, and perhaps even looking at if they're overbuying in general, which actually ends up promoting overeating when there's a whole lot of extra food around. We can show people that high-priced convenience foods are not only often less nutritious, but they're not necessary to make quick meals. In many cases, we can most effectively communicate our message by simply emphasizing the three very interrelated AICR guidelines. Choose mostly plant foods, limit red meat, and avoid processed meat. Be physically active every day in any way for 30 minutes or more, and aim to be a healthy weight throughout life. I'd like to thank AICR for their partial sponsorship of my time with you today, and the Oncology DPG for the invitation, and all of you for your participation. Diet, weight, and physical activity can make a real difference in reducing cancer risk. We need to teach people to respond to recommendations that come from analysis of a solid body of research, and that's very different than responding to each new headline. We need to encourage people to set priorities to avoid feeling overwhelmed, and we must emphasize over and over, you can do this.